Hey guys, before we start this episode, I wanted to talk to you about Type 1 lifting. So, Type 1 lifting is a clothing line that proceeds of the shirts and tanks and everything else goes to the Children's Diabetes Foundation. So, this all came about with me and seeing a 5-year-old girl in the emergency department that had new onset of diabetes. So, just take a look at the website. It's www.type1lifting.com. So just check it out. If you don't buy anything, that's perfectly fine. I would just like for you just to take a look and just see what we have. So, like I said before, www.type1lifting.com. And guys, I hope you enjoy the show. Guys, welcome to another episode of the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. I have the 2021 fittest law enforcement officer for the CrossFit Open, Shaylin Laure. How you doing?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. Well, thank you for coming on. I saw you on the Misfit, Instagram page about you going to the MACC, and I was like, I don't even know who this person is. So that's why I reached out to you to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, I'm so glad you did too. Your foundation is amazing. I had never heard of it, but it's very cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Thank you. So I kind of want to talk about how you started in law enforcement first and then kind of get into CrossFit later. So what made you get into, well, first of all, the police force, because now you're in the FBI. So what made you get into the police?
So when I was graduating from college, I was a little bit young. I was 20. And I had worked campus safety. Like a rent-a-cop job, 8 an hour, you don't have a gun or anything. But I worked for a retired lieutenant and a retired captain at King County Sheriff's Department in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And they were just phenomenal guys. And they kind of took me under their wing, told me about their careers. And they were so passionate about what they did and all the people that they were able to help throughout their careers as cops. So 2 days after I graduated college, I actually started at Kent County Sheriff Department, which is where they had retired from. And I started in their dispatch center because I hadn't been to a police academy yet. And the dispatch center wasn't what I wanted to do, but it was a good way to figure out that I definitely did want to be in law enforcement. You can only help so much through a phone call, and answering 911 is not, for me, it was hard to answer the call, tell them I'm sending help, and then it ends there. Like, you don't get any resolution. Mm-hmm. So I only did that for like a year, and then I instantly went to the police academy and went on the road. And I loved it. It was a blast.
Very cool. Very cool. So can you tell me like some of the calls that you've gotten, that like the craziest calls you've gotten?
I had a week of, pun intended, naked men who would be out in public, and I was always the one who got that call, but I was the only female on my shift, and it was always me. So I had to chase and tackle one of them, which is not the most pleasant when they're naked. And then another one, we called EMS for him, but those were the oddest ones for me. They were fun though.
Yeah. So what made you go into the FBI?
So I loved being in law enforcement. Sorry, you can hear my dogs in the background playing.
Oh, you're good. Don't worry. It's all good.
I loved being in law enforcement, but I felt like my reach was kind of limited locally. So you can only respond to so many domestic violence calls and barking dog calls. And then unless you're a detective, it kind of ends there for you, which again, the same thing with dispatch. I didn't have the resolution that I really wanted. I wanted to have a bigger impact, I guess. So with the FBI, we work bigger cases that take longer than just a couple hours on a call. And I get to see the whole thing through. So for me, that just makes me feel like I have a little bit bigger impact.
Mm-hmm. Now, how long have you been with the FBI so far?
2 years.
Oh, very cool. So obviously we can't talk about cases, which I don't want to talk about cases, but do you have like can you like kind of tell us like what a typical day is for you at all, or would that be allowed?
Yeah, no, I totally can.
Oh, you're good.
my husband's home.
It's okay.
So a typical day is going to look different every day, which is, I love that about the job. But some days we're in the office doing our paperwork and catching up on reports. We go to court for our cases, so we have to prepare for court. Other days we'll actually be in court, but most of the time we're out on the road either doing surveillance or we may have an operation going or we're talking to sources. So really every day looks completely different.
Okay. And do you have like a certain region am I allowed to say that, a certain region you kind of like go over?
So we're divided by, our divisions are mainly states. There are a couple of the less populated states that are kind of grouped together, but North Carolina is a division. And then we have satellite offices throughout the state. So I work at one of those satellite offices in Raleigh, and we cover quite a few counties just kind of around the Raleigh area in our satellite office.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So how did you get involved with CrossFit? Like, did that happen during the police force or getting into the FBI?
So a lot of people at my police department did do CrossFit. I didn't quite make enough money to be able to afford a membership, so I went to an Anytime Fitness, and I would do the best I could at like using the CrossFit.com workouts. I tried to do them and duplicate them with steel plates and a male bar, and there's no rig there, so I'm doing like strict pull-ups the whole time, which was great. I still was in good enough shape. But it wasn't until I joined the military and I got through all of my military training, and then I finally went to a CrossFit gym.
Very cool. So what branch did you go into?
I was in the Army.
Okay. I'm prior Air Force, so I've been like, my whole career has been like all medical. So I mean, it was interesting.
So is that how you like started in medical, was through the Air Force?
Yes.
You went in young.
No, actually I didn't. I went in at 27.
Oh, okay. Were you an officer?
No, all right, here, little backstory. So I graduated college with a graphic design degree. And so I was,
okay.
yeah. And so I was still doing a little bit of graphic design stuff, but like it was so hard at the time because the time I graduated, that was the influx of graphic designers that came out into the market. And so they were looking for people with experience, and I was playing college sports, so I didn't really I couldn't get an internship because I was playing college sports because I wanted to. And so I was working a security job, and so at one of the hospitals up in Boston, and one of the guys is like, "Hey man, like, do you want to be a security guard for the rest of your life?" And I'm like, "No, no." And he's like, "Well, why don't you join the Air Force and you can kind of get in the medical field, because I know you wanted to get into the medical field." Because I was kind of looking at radiology technician or a nurse or something like that. And so I was like, okay. And I walked through the base to check it out, the branch, like all that stuff, and I didn't go in as an officer, and like I kind of regret it a little bit, but I'm kind of glad I didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went in medical, did the whole boot camp, like the oldest dude in there, the oldest and biggest dude in basic training.
Yep, I bet you were.
Yeah, and so they're like, "You're the most pissed off person too," and I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm 27 going into boot camp, and there's like 18-year-olds like right next to me."
Yep.
So, but I did that for 7 years, and then I was stationed in Massachusetts, and then I moved down to Georgia, and that was trying to transfer over to like a medical unit down here, and that's when I got diagnosed with diabetes. So then I was just like, okay, I can't go back in.
Oh, I gotcha. So that was actually, they like couldn't accept you because of diabetes.
No.
Okay.
And I've been I was trying to get disability too as well, and they say it's a lot harder for reserve, because I went into the reserves because I was too old to go active duty, even though I wanted to go active duty.
At 27?
Yep. They said that,
really?
Yeah, the cutoff date was like 25 or something like that, 25 or 26. Oh. So I was like, okay, I'll just stay reserves, and I might go active duty like while I'm like doing something in the reserves. But I never did. But then I just started getting into the medical field, and like the rest was history.
That's awesome, though. I mean, that was your stepping stone.
Yeah. And so with the Army, with you went infantry, correct?
Did. However, I was an officer.
It's okay.
But quite old for basic training because I had been a police officer already.
Yeah. So
So
you have to go
I
through two, like, so you have to go through like kind of like two basic trainings with the police force and the military.
Yep, I went through the police academy, which made basic training an absolute breeze. Like it was totally easy. And then I had to go through, I think, 5 military schools before I was like fully branch qualified for everything. And then I had to go to the FBI Academy as well. So I've been to many settings like that, and I'm okay with not having to go to another.
So, through the whole process of you becoming an officer, you went to obviously infantry school. Like, where were the other schools that you went to, become an officer for the Army?
So for just to become an officer, I had to go to basic training and officer candidate school, and then I was commissioned. Then you go to your branch specific school. So then I went to the infantry basic officer leader course, and then you go to you could just go to your unit after that, but then infantry is divided into light and mechanized. So there's airborne school, striker school, and Bradley school. So I went to the Bradley leader course.
Okay, very cool. How was that whole process?
I personally loved it. I enjoy suffering. I don't mind being in the field. So I was really getting to do what I loved. And I never thought growing up that I would have the opportunity to serve in the infantry because it wasn't open to females.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty much a dream come true when they opened it while I was young enough. Because at that point, I already had started my career. I didn't know that I would want to change careers. And it happened, and it was like a no-brainer for me. Mm-hmm. But happened too much later in my career. I'm not sure I would have done it, in my 30s. That'd be it happened in the perfect time.
Yeah. So do you think the leadership school kind of transitioned you pretty well into getting to the FBI?
So the leadership school did a phenomenal job of building my character more than anything, because there are so many things you do that you're like, I'm so tired. I just want to quit. And so it certainly toughened me up. But honestly, being a police officer at the local level prepared me the best for the FBI.
Okay, very cool. And then obviously CrossFit stomach started to come around, and you were doing it at the global gym. So what made you decide to actually go into like a real box and do the workouts?
I went to officer candidate school with a girl named Heather Hurd. She had done regionals like 3 or 4 times. She was a phenomenal CrossFit athlete and a phenomenal CrossFit coach. I think she had her level 3 when we went through OCS together. And so I would do CrossFit on the side with her. We had like this, maybe like a 10 by 15 tiny little gym that we had access to, because you couldn't leave the battalion footprint during OCS. It's kind of like basic training. And you had to have a battle buddy with you everywhere you went. So she would come out on the track with me and run with me and come out to the pull-up bars so we could work out and go to our little closet gym. And she helped me so much more in those 3 months of OCS than I had done in the 2 years in an Anytime Fitness. Mm-hmm. So we finally got a weekend pass like 2 weeks before graduation, so we could go out into the town for like 4 hours. And we went to a CrossFit gym.
Awesome. Do you remember the workout at all, or was it just like you were like, I'm free?
Don't. There were handstand push-ups in it. I didn't know how to kip, so I did them strict, and I didn't last long. I can tell you that much. I don't remember the rest of it. I didn't even have workout clothes. She had to lend some to me because I only had like Army PT clothes. And I ended up staying at Benning for a couple of years and staying at that gym.
Very cool. Did you do any coaching there at all, or?
No, I have never been a coach. In the military, I definitely did not have time. And with FBI, we can't have outside employment. So it's just not even really realistic for me.
Yeah. So when did you realize you were starting to get like pretty good at CrossFit?
When I made semifinals this year.
Yeah.
I really wasn't sure before then.
Yeah. So you became, obviously during like the open, they have the occupational, sides of like law enforcement, fire department, EMTs, military, and you were first place for the law enforcement. Was that a complete like shock for you that you won it?
So it wasn't a total shock because we all used that hashtag in the open. So I could like kind of see my competition I knew there were a couple really fit girls, and saw that they registered, and I was excited to have some good competition because two of the girls beat me in the open. So no, it wasn't like going into it thinking I had it already won by any means. And the women who took second and third place actually reached out throughout the weekend, and their sportsmanship level was through the roof. And we all just started talking, so it was really cool.
Yeah, very cool. So do you still keep in contact with them, right?
Yeah, well, I would totally DM one of them if I had something to ask or whatever, and we follow each other and like each other's posts, and they are phenomenal athletes.
Very cool. And then you got accepted into the semifinals, and then you went to the MACC. So what was that whole experience of like you getting the invite and like, was that your first choice to go to?
It was, and it's the only one I could drive to, so that's kind of why I put it at number one. But I had never competed at that level before, so as far as like people who had gone to the Granite Games and knew like the types of the workout they programmed, I had no idea. I just went on where they were based, like so I could drive.
Yeah, and how far of a drive is it for you? It
was only 6 hours. Wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it's a good distance. So when you walked into the MACC to like register and stuff, you see like all these like elite. I'm not saying you're not elite, but I'm just saying elite CrossFit athletes. Were you like in awe the whole time, or were you like, okay, like I belong here, or what was going through your mind through that?
So at check-in, I saw Rich Froning, Tia Toomey, Haley Adams, and Brooke Wells. So pretty stacked check-in. And I think I was fangirling more than anything, because obviously the women who like, I follow them. I have watched everything they've done for the last couple of years since I've actually taken CrossFit seriously. And I was kind of just in disbelief that I was even there.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Did you get to talk to any of them at all?
I did. So I stayed in the athlete hotel. So I would brush shoulders with them, not just like in the warm-up area, but even in the elevator. I rode down with Brooke Wells' mom a few times, and they were all super nice. We just had casual conversation. They didn't let it get to their head. And it didn't matter that they had no clue who I was. They were still cordial. And I think that they genuinely want to see everyone else succeed too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what I like about the CrossFit community too, as well, because, everyone roots for each other. I feel like towards the end, if I'm the last person, everyone's around me, clapping me, I'm like, okay, piss off, just like get out of here. But I mean, if someone needs help moving or something like that, or anything else, like you have the whole box coming in to help you out. So that's what's so cool about CrossFit.
Absolutely, the community is what got me hooked for sure.
Yeah, very cool. So you follow the Misfit Athletic program. Pretty much all my interviews I've done so far is like almost Misfit Athletics, program athletes. So what made you follow Misfit Athletics compared to the other ones?
So I went to CrossFit Sacrifice, which is when I was stationed at Fort Benning. That was my first gym, and maybe almost a year, like 8 months after I started there, I met another infantry officer who I'm now married to. And he was the biggest Misfits fan ever. So I was just doing classes. And once we started dating, I kind of started working out with him on the side to get better. And we started competing together. And it just made sense for me to follow the same programming as him. So that's how it started. I stuck with them because I think the way they program, my strength gains are undeniable. They're just, you use so much heavy volume. And I feel like my engine stays pretty decent even when we're in a strength cycle. And that's hard to do, right? It's hard to be gaining strength and keeping your engine and then building your engine while maintaining strength. And I think they just have a good balance of that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I call BS on your husband because I think I'm the biggest Misfit fan. So.
Oh, he will be head to toe Misfit attire. It's impressive.
Well, I could do. I have done that at the gym one time, so I ain't gonna lie. But
No. This is daily.
Oh, okay. All right. He's got me beat then. So. So, how have you like, gotten better? Obviously, you've gotten better through Misfit Athletics. So, like, how do you guys, obviously your training schedule is, all over the place because you have to go to court or you have to do like something else with the FBI. So, how are you able to train, and stay fit at the same time while working?
It's a challenge. So the way our investigations, our load could be light for a few weeks and then we could get slammed and there's just no planning for it. You never know what's going to happen. So I take advantage of the days that I can make it to the gym. Sometimes I prefer to work out in the evenings. There have been times where if I'm going to get it in, it's going to be 4:30 a.m. body weight workout in my garage, and that or nothing. So I just have to take advantage of every minute I do get. I definitely train hard on the weekends, but I don't always get my weekends either. So that's rare. Fortunately, that's rare, and I can almost always train on the weekends. I rarely try to plan out my rest day because usually it becomes whatever day I'm at the office longest, just becomes rest day. But I do make sure I get a rest day or two because I think that is so important. And then we're at an awesome gym right now. We're at CrossFit Shoe Fly, and there are so many people who, even if they are a little bit intimidated by the workout, they'll jump in with you. So I always have someone to work out with, even if Nick's at work and I can't work out with him or the other females who I compete with in the gym. If they've already done their workout and I'm coming later, there's always someone to work out with, which for me is huge. I need that push. It makes it more fun.
Yeah, I typically have to train alone. So I actually train at a Globo gym. So, but they have like they have bumper plates and everything like there. They have like lifting platforms. So if you look at my Instagram page, like that's the Globo gym I go to.
Nice.
And so like I get up at 4:30 in the morning and I'm like training by myself and like all these like other meatheads that are doing like back or chest or something like that are looking at me like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, we look a little odd to the conventional like powerlifter bodybuilder people for sure.
Yeah, and especially when I do Olympic lifting, they're like, "Gosh, like what's wrong? Like what are you doing? Like why are you bending your wrists like that when you're catching it? Don't is it like your wrist gonna break or something like that?" I'm like, "No, no."
Do they have a rig for you there?
Yeah, they have like power rigs, so I could do pull-ups, like squatting. They have like an Olympic, so they have an area where like you could actually do like Olympic lifting because like all the platforms are like half the size of a normal platform, so they have like a space where it's a lot bigger because I'm a bigger individual, so doing all those lifts, like my foot's gonna fall off the platform.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I understand your pain. Been there, done that. It's doable.
Yeah. I try to make do. I mean, I can't do rope climbs. I can't do muscle ups because like the rig is too close to the wall. Smash my head. So I'll just do like pull ups, dips, or whatever to kind of trying to get the same stimulus while I'm working out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, do what you can.
Yeah. So
Better than that.
yeah. So I did see, and you got video interviewed from Scott Schweitzer from the Clydesdale and the Morning Chalk Up. So
Yeah.
how was being interviewed for the first time for like a major CrossFit news media site, and like what was that like?
I'm awkward. I learned that. This is not my calling in life, but I enjoy doing it. I love talking about CrossFit. I love being able to tell people that you can have a full-time job and still pursue whatever your CrossFit dream is. And that is something that a lot of people have reached out to me with questions about how I do it. So obviously we work 50 hours minimum per week. So, and then with the unpredictability of it, it's doable though. If you have a goal and you set your mind to it, you're going to make it, just like you started type 1 lifting. You had a goal, you had a dream, you worked toward it, and you made it happen. And it's all about mindset, which is something that I've never been trained on at all. And now I'm at a gym where there's someone who actually does sports psychology, and I'm like, please help me.
Yeah.
I'm so behind in all of this. But I've never, until this year, I finally, now that I go to CrossFit Shoe Fly, I just switched there during occupational games, so like 2 months now. I have never had a coach. I finally have a coach. But truly, I enjoy doing this to try to reach out to people to let them know you can work full time, not have a coach, just follow a program, and you can go as far as you want.
Yep, completely agree. Yeah. So, did you see yourself on YouTube at all, like during the after the recording at all, or?
Did I watch it? No. I learned when I was a dispatcher having to re-listen to my calls. I do not like listening to myself. It's just weird.
Yeah,
not a fan of it.
I don't like listening to myself either, because I typically do recordings. Like, obviously I'll do the recordings for the podcast, and then like I won't edit them at all because I just don't want to listen.
Yes, I feel your pain there.
Yeah. So, very cool. So obviously you did very well, because I know I remember hearing you in a video that you were kind of deloading during the MACC because of the occupational game. So did you think you did well during like the whole MACC, or like what was your thinking of like maybe doing something next year, or like the next steps for like another sanctional?
Yeah, so I don't have like a strength and conditioning degree or coaching background or anything. And I followed Misfits last year, and they did a great job for people in semifinals with the different weeks of like getting you to peak at the right time and deload at the right time. However, they did not do anything for age group or occupational games. So I was like on my own trying to figure out, how do I hit quarterfinals? I got rhabdo during quarterfinals. Oh, how do I 3 weeks later hit occupational games and do the same workout that gave me rhabdo? And then 3 weeks after that, go to the MACC. And that is where having a coach would have been super helpful. And I was out of my league. I had no clue what I was doing. I ended up mainly just deloading after quarterfinals to try to recover from rhabdo. I never did another peak. I guess you could call occupational games a very quick, like 2-day peak, but I didn't build back up. I just tried to let my body recover. So when I went to the MACC, I had been deloading for 6 weeks. That's not ideal whatsoever. I did not feel like I was at my peak. But it was also my first individual competition, my first competition at that scale ever. And I was just happy to be there. I didn't think I was going to make it there, so it was just a cool experience.
Yeah. Did you have a bunch of people go to the MACC for you to cheer you on?
Yeah. So like I just said, I'm pretty new to this gym, and there were like 5 people from the gym who came all the way to Knoxville and spent the whole weekend with me. And I was just like mind blown by that. The community at Shoot Fly is absolutely phenomenal. I couldn't ask for anything better.
Very cool. Very cool. So, obviously, like next year, if you make it to like the the semifinals, would you still do the occupational games at all, or what would you still do, like kind of the same route that you did this year?
So I'm hoping, and it's of course work dependent somewhat, I'm hoping to increase my training volume enough this year that I don't have any risk of rhabdo no matter what the workout is for next year. And if you took that away, I think I would have been fine, because occupational games is when I would have been peaking before semis anyways. So I think it would be okay. I would like to do it again. And I'm not going to like put all my eggs in one basket and then maybe not make semifinals, but not do occupational games. That would not be fun. So this last year, January to March, my investigation load was, the hours were just very demanding. So I didn't get the preseason I wanted. It could happen again this year. I don't know. But hopefully it doesn't, and I can get my training going to where it needs to be before the open even starts.
Yeah. So obviously you said you've done workouts in like your garage for like a half an hour, like bodyweight workouts. So like, what's a typical training day for you?
So right now, because I'm trying to train with a couple of the really good coaches at Shoefly, they tend to train in the middle of the day, which is so inconvenient for me. So I do my best to once or twice a week, go to work in the morning, go train in the afternoon, and go back to work in the evening. And then the rest of the days I'm working my normal schedule and just training in the evening.
Okay. So you don't do like the early mornings anymore?
I will wake up and do fasted cardio. Or if I know I'm going to have a long day at work, which I haven't had to do yet this month, I would do something in the morning, or I would make it a rest day. But inevitably will be a week or two where we have a time sensitive investigation and we're working 10 to 12 hours every single day. And I'll know that like, I can't rest the whole week. I'll have to just get up and do something. It'll come out.
Yeah. So what's the craziest thing while you were like working? Did you do like wall sits while like you're reading paperwork or something, anything like that? Or like,
I don't work out at work. Oh, that's not true. So during semifinals, during like my build up for it, I was actually going and running at a track on my lunches. So I will if I have to build that volume if I don't have enough time in the other hours of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, so a little bit about the FBI. So how long are you planning to stay? Because do they do kind of like the military, like 20 years that you can get out for the retirement plan?
Yes, as an agent, you have to do 20 years, but you also have to work till you're 50. So I started with them at 26, so I have to do 24 years. I still have to work till I'm 50.
Oh,
and that's bought my military time that like gets tacked on to the end. So it'll be like I retired at 53 instead of 50.
Oh, that kind of stinks.
There's no way around working until I'm 50.
Yeah. So did they give you like a good pension and everything for that?
So actually you have your federal retirement system, but we still have, we use TSP. So I have a uniformed TSP from when I was in the military, and now I have a civilian TSP.
Oh, okay. So you just pretty much add on time, and then that's how much you get paid and stuff. Okay. All right. Very cool. Yeah. There was a guy in my unit that had 33 years in the Air Force in the same unit.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, his retirement bonus was very nice.
Oh, I bet it was. 33 years in the same unit? They don't move you guys?
You don't have to.
Oh, in the Army you have to.
Yeah, well in the reserves it's like a little bit different, so
okay, right.
Yeah, so he was there for 33 years, and the crazy thing is, like, I wanted to deploy overseas, and like they started like this was the time they started like saying, okay, we're cutting back on military personnel like overseas, but there's some people in my unit that have been there for like 15, 20 years that never gotten deployed because you don't have to.
It's optional, like completely optional. Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I could be wrong, and I don't know anyone in the reserve. I only know people in the Army Guard. I don't think you have a choice. Like if your unit is deploying, I think you're deploying.
Yeah. Well, for us, like if they had like a group of people being like, okay, we have a deployment. Who wants in? And then like kind of people throw their names in the hat and stuff like that, or they don't randomly pick, because I think my unit had like 130 people in the unit, so they only had like 20 to 40 people that were able to go in.
Okay, gotcha.
So then they're like, no, I don't want to go in. I don't want to deploy. And I'm like, me, I want in. And like, I don't care where I go. And like, one of the deployments was to Germany.
Oh, that's a nice deployment to have.
Yeah, and I'm like, I was jealous. Like, I met up with them on my annual tour, so we went to Germany for a 2-week annual tour, and I was like, this is all you do all day? And like, they go on trip, they go like literally have like a 2-day trip, and they'll go to like Luxembourg or like some other place, and it's just like.
So they got to like take pass and actually go do stuff.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, and there's other people in Afghanistan that like couldn't even leave the base. They were just sitting there for like 6 months doing, and I'm like, all right, that's more like a deployment. So, I mean.
Yeah, if you want the deployment experience, Germany is probably not going to do it for you.
No, they were showing me pictures of like all the trips they've gone to and stuff, and it's just like, you guys were, and like all their pay was going to traveling.
If you don't have a wife and kids back home to support.
Yeah, pretty much. So, does the gym that you have, do they follow Misfit, or is it like the 3 coaches do like their own programming?
So at Shoefly, the owner Street does all the programming. So I actually, after the MACC, I switched to her programming kind of in June. I kind of just deloaded. But I'm doing her programming for right now. And there are a lot of competitors there. So I'm giving it a shot. So far, I love it. I just paired my split jerk today. I hit 240, nice. So pretty hot. Granted, last time I PR'd it, I hit 230 on the Misfit cycle. So you PR everything on Misfits. But I'm trying it out for now because it's so nice to have people to work out with. It really is. And then our metcons are always what the class is doing. So then I can jump in on class too and have more of the community aspect.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So, what did you think about the whole setup for the MACC?
Do you mean like how they picked who goes where?
No, well, yeah, that and that too, and like how they ran the whole like the whole games or like competition.
Okay, so how they picked where people went, I wasn't a huge fan of, just because obviously we got Tia. It was so cool to compete against Tia. I have no complaints. However, had I been one of the higher athletes who is like potentially going to the games and podiuming, I would have been a little bit upset that she got a North American athlete spot. That to me was like, that might be not the best setup. It's not exactly fair. And then they kind of, the way they assigned people, the MACC and West Coast were pretty heavy with former games athletes. And I felt like Granite Games and Atlas weren't nearly as many former game athletes. How they could do it better, not really sure. So why would I complain if I don't have like a recommendation to make it better? But I think that there's room for improvement there just to make it more fair and to have the best competitors at the games.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, go ahead.
Do you think that like if they do more like sanctional game, like the sanctionals or whatever, like semifinal, like positions, like maybe Waterpalooza or like something else that comes up, and like instead of having the 5 people, like have like 4 people, that would kind of spread out all the elite athletes and kind of get their fair share to get in?
I wasn't a huge fan of sanctionals when they were doing it that way, just because I felt like the people with money could go to multiple and keep on trying and trying. And if you didn't have the money to go and to travel a bunch, you had one shot. And if you have, Tia and 4 other games athletes there, like, sorry, you're probably not going to get it. I guess I like the regional style a little bit better. That seemed more fair than them hand placing people to me. Mm-hmm. But that wasn't a perfect system either.
Yeah.
So I don't know that they're answer. I think that they did a decent job. It just felt like a couple of the competitions were much more heavily stacked in North America than the others.
Mm-hmm. So obviously that you said the MACC was your first choice. Did you pick the Atlas games or like any of the online qualifiers after that, or what was the list that you had?
I did the MACC and then I did Granite Games because I'm from Michigan, so that way my parents at least could drive. I couldn't, but they could. Then I did West Coast, and Atlas was last for me just because I had never competed in person. I never thought I would make it there, so why not go and have the experience? I wasn't going to the games no matter what I put down. So I might as well go have an awesome experience and make some memories instead of just doing another online qualifier.
True. Yeah, I would probably do the same thing too. Because it's like, here's your shot of like getting out there with the elite athletes and showing what you got. And so, after the MACC, did you get like a little uptick in like your social media following, and like did people DM you for like other questions and stuff like that?
I did get quite a few new followers. I get a ton of DMs about fitness in general, but I get a lot about law enforcement, which I'm totally happy with. There are not a ton of females who are easily accessible within law enforcement. Before this, I had a private account. I didn't tell people what I did. Obviously, winning law enforcement division of occupational games kind of changed that. Mm-hmm. We obviously don't want people to know what we do publicly because of the political climate, and it's just not the safest, especially if you have a family. And I just have my husband and my dogs, and I know my husband can take care of himself. So I'm happy to be a resource out there because there is a limited number of females in law enforcement who are open about what they do.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. And you live in Florida, right?
Yeah. I'm in North Carolina.
Yeah. Very cool. So I'm glad you actually made your account public, and I can't imagine some of the crazy DMs you get from like other people from like just stupid stuff, but it's cool that you actually able to talk to people and talk about law enforcement or like fitness, and especially being a female too. You don't, like you said, you don't see a lot of them, and so it's like really cool to see you like open up and like kind of be able to like chat with anybody about those positions.
Yeah, thanks. It's nice to have some feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a decent job at least.
Yeah. Well, it's cool that if I started following you because I saw you on the Misfit post, and I'm like, oh, I don't even know. She's at the semifinals. I'm like, up, follow, and then all of a sudden I saw the morning chalk up thing, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. She won like first place in the occupational games, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no one knew who I was before that, which is I had a private profile and I didn't put myself out there whatsoever. So.
True. So we're getting close to the end. So I have a couple questions for you. So if you stopped doing CrossFit today or stopped doing the FBI, like, stopped doing anything, how do you want people to know, like, what do you want people to know you as?
I hope to be someone who no one feels judged by. I feel like everyone is self-conscious about something, and whether it's fitness related or their job or whatever, I hope that they know that I accept people for who they are. As long as you're a good person and you just try to make everyone feel better about themselves, not bringing other people down, I guess that's my goal.
Okay, very cool. So, what are your goals for like the rest of the year and possibly in the new year?
I definitely want to make back to semis, but this time I would like to be competitive there. So I'm definitely increasing training volume and training with much more of a purpose. Before, my purpose was kind of just stay safe at work and be in good health. So now that I know that I can get there, it's lit a fire under my ass essentially. And every workout I go into with some sort of goal, whether it's, my time might be a little slower, but I'm going to do all of these chest to bar unbroken so I can increase my capacity on the bar. That's more my goal now instead of just let's see how fast I can do this.
Yeah. So some of the work, this is another question. So some of the workouts that you do you go like hot right out of the gate and see how long you could hold on, or what's the other training method that you do?
So I don't know if you watched much of the MACC, but pacing is clearly not my strong suit. I went out hot on a lot of those workouts, which I largely contribute to having never done an individual comp. Anytime I've been on the comp floor, I have had a partner or a team. So you get that rest in there. Even if it's a couple minutes into it, you still get some rest. So pacing was way different, and maybe not even pacing at all for those comps. So this was a huge learning experience. I've signed up for multiple individual comps already, so I can just learn how to pace. And then everyone says like, oh, the adrenaline, right? The adrenaline for me, like, did not kick in. I do better in an online qualifier in my gym. I think I have enough adrenaline from work and doing some of the things we're doing that it's just, you can't even compare to that in the gym or at a competition. So doing something in my gym is easier for me because I can pace better. It's my environment. So I just need to get out and compete in that new environment more often.
Very cool. So what are the other competitions that you signed up for?
I did one a couple weeks ago here in Raleigh. It was Oak City's Fittest. I have a partner comp in July. I still like doing partner comps. I'm going to Kentucky in August for top of the box. What else? There's one in Florida, Beach Crawl at Pensacola.
Yep, I heard of that
in
one.
September. So I haven't signed up for that one yet because I need to find some sponsors to take care of some of the expenses associated with that potentially. But I'm hoping to go to that one. There's another one in Florida on a beach in November that I'm hoping to get to, and then of course Wadapalooza.
Oh, very cool, awesome. So, do you have any sponsors yet?
Sure, MACC. Is that athletics?
Yeah. Okay. All right. What's the coupon code, by the way?
Code Shay, SHAY. I'll save you some money.
All right. Cool. So, do you have like a favorite book you like to read at all?
So I have read Chase Excellence by Ben Bergeron. That was really good. And then my other one, what is it called? How Bad Do You Want It? I can't think of the author's name. Ben mentioned it in Chasing Excellence. And then a coach at my gym gave it to me to read before semis. And it was really good. It has, you can kind of nerd out with some of the science behind the mental aspects, which I kind of enjoy. But there were so many examples from across different sports, like Tour de France was in there. There were triathletes in there. And it just really taps into the mentality of an athlete and how you can dig so much deeper than what your body wants you to do. So that for me was eye-opening.
All right, I got to read that book. I've heard of that book a bunch of times, so I got to get on that.
Yeah, it's good. I read it twice.
Nice. Very cool. What would you tell somebody if, like, you know, they have a new person to CrossFit or someone that wants to get in the FBI, you know, what to expect throughout the whole process of getting into, you know, what they want to get into?
Expect that you're going to get told no and that you're going to have to find a way to make it work. Because in none of the careers that I've had, has it been easy. All of them have been male dominated and I've always been told I couldn't do it. And I mean, you have to write your own narrative. Like if you listen to them and you believe them, you're never going to make it. But you can literally just tell them to F off in your head and prove them wrong. But it's not going to be easy and you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah. It's like the mental middle finger.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Being able to harness that and make it your motivation will make you unstoppable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally agree. So, where could people reach out to you if they have any questions with like you said, law enforcement or like CrossFit and like how to manage the time and everything?
Yeah. My Instagram is Shaylin_Laure. And I'm happy to answer questions, especially if people are interested in law enforcement. It's hard to find people who are willing to openly talk about that. I'm also happy to help with if anyone wants to apply to the FBI, if they have questions about that. I work with one of our recruiters in North Carolina, and he, if I don't know the answer, he's okay with me reaching out to him. Mm-hmm. So I someone to talk to. It's a phenomenal career, an absolutely stellar career. So I definitely encourage people to take a look at it.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I truly appreciate you taking the time of your crazy schedule to kind of sit down with me and, you know, talk about your experience.
Yeah, it's been a blast and it's been awesome getting to know you. I hope everyone takes a chance to look at Type 1 lifting. Really cool idea behind it. And obviously that was his goal and his dream, and he made it happen too.
Very cool. Thank you very much.
Thanks.